Well, can I just say we are so grateful to be in beautiful Queenstown this morning, and it's all thanks in part to one of our favourite Prime Ministers.
Well, one of them, at least up there in the top three.
Just my number one.
It wouldn't be a trip across the ditch without catching up with our great friend of the program, the New Zealand Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern. Good morning to you. Thank you for being with us. Really appreciate your time. Kia ora. Thanks for letting us in the country.
Kia ora and good morning. Oh, well, welcome.
It's so good to be... Yeah.
Are you? I was surprised you let Karl in, though. I thought with his record and all that, I was very surprised.
Our vetting, you can see, is we're very generous in our vetting.
Very relaxed. Hey, before we get on to the lighter stuff, there is obviously a bit happening in Australia right now. Quarantine-free travel will continue between New Zealand and New South Wales for now. How bad would the outbreak have to get, PM, in Sydney before you press pause? Well,
actually, I'd like to think that we're fairly predictable in the calls that we make around whether we pause or suspend our quarantine-free travel. And really the indications we look for are the response of the Australian-based health authorities. We stay in really close contact. If they have enough concern to impose restrictions or to themselves go into a form of lockdown, then we then respond at our border. But as you can see at the moment, keeping watching brief, staying in touch with health officials, of course telling travellers that if they are covered by areas of interest, then they need to remain isolated over in Australia rather than travelling. But at the moment, we're keeping travelling moving with New South Wales.
Well, we have seen with previous outbreaks that Gladysborough Jet Clean is very quick to jump on them and to stamp them out. But we are talking about the Delta variant here. That's got to be of concern to you.
Yeah, I mean, everything that we've done in our arrangements, and likewise with Australia, really is about managing COVID full stop, regardless of how aggressive a particular variant might be. In fact, one of the reasons, certainly in New Zealand, we've adopted a zero tolerance to COVID is very much for the reason that variants have proven to be so problematic. So we maintain that stamp it out process or regime no matter what. What we do need to keep doing with variants is just seeing the different ways they behave. So that's where you're really interested in whether or not your quarantine periods and the regularity of your testing for people coming in at the border is catching people appropriately. But at the moment, we have confidence in our systems, as I know Australia does as well.
PM, thanks again for your time this morning. How do you think the vaccination rollout's been faring for Australia and New Zealand? It's been pretty sluggish, hasn't it?
Well, actually, I'd say that, quite similar in terms of our rollout. We've taken slightly different approaches between whether or not we focus on single doses versus full doses. But, overall, there's not many countries that are in the position of New Zealand and Australia in terms of being free of COVID. And so I think on both sides of the Tasman, we accept that we do need globally to prioritise those places where there is large-scale loss of life. I think that's as it should be. And I think we'd probably feel uncomfortable if we were well ahead of others who were having, a much harder time from COVID. So yes, we want to get those vaccines out the door, but it's all about when you finish, and we're looking to finish in similar timeframes.
The issue you've got is that you've got a lot of other countries overseas now looking to open up. You've got even the US and UK talking about travelling between them. There is that real risk of Australia and New Zealand being left behind.
Well, I think when we talk about being left behind, the question I'd ask is what does that mean for different countries? I mean, those who may be reopening, I've looked recently at the border requirements. You won't find somewhere that doesn't have some form of border requirement. So everyone is still using those restrictions. But even then, even look at the UK, high rates of vaccination, still seeing at the moment a particularly concerning level of cases. Most countries are rolling out their vaccine programs so that they can be more like New Zealand and Australia in the fact that we have been living relatively freely. Of course, we have had sporadic periods of lockdown, but you can't see me because the crowds are off to the side, but we are out and about amongst one another without the requirements of social distancing and constant mask use. And that is what other countries are striving for, and we've had it. So we're very grateful for that.
I know coming out over here on the flight that plenty of Kiwis are heading off to Rarotonga. There's a travel bubble there. Are you looking at any more travel bubbles in the near vicinity at the moment?
So my expectation is that probably the next most likely for us will be Niue, beautiful place, and we will look out to our Pacific neighbours, but Australia and New Zealand has set a pretty high bar. For those that we want quarantine-free travel that doesn't require quarantine and a vaccine, we want to be able to maintain our free, safe position. So there won't be too many places that can fulfil that criteria, but we will look.
Jacinda, our Prime Minister, obviously, you caught up with him recently. One of the things you talked about was China, and you sort of showed a commitment to what Australia's stance is. Are you worried about any blowback there from China and for New Zealand industries?
Oh, look, we've said time and time again, our relationship with China is a mature one, but it's also complex. But our view has always been that, yes, whilst we have a very important trading relationship, from New Zealand's perspective, we will always speak out on issues that concern us, including, for instance, human rights issues, issues that relate to Hong Kong, Xinjiang. We will keep raising them. And we take that as it comes, but we say nothing publicly that we don't say privately as well. So for us, it's just about continuing to be consistent as a nation, and New Zealand certainly is.
PM, you seem to be getting on a little better with our PM. Have you mended the fences, as it were?
I'd have to say there's never been a period where we haven't. Yes, there's certainly been tension points for us. We take some quite different views on issues like deportation, and I will always speak very strongly on those issues. But we consider New Zealand and Australia family. That means we can speak very frankly, but it also doesn't undermine the very strong relationship we have. But it would certainly help if we had a bit of a resolution over that issue.
Okay.
I mean, since we're family and all, and you've welcomed us with open arms in New Zealand, when are you going to come and visit us, see us down under?
Can't.
Very soon, very, very soon, July, I'll be coming over, so not too far away at all, and I'm really looking forward to it. My last place I went internationally before COVID was Australia in February. It feels like a lifetime ago, but first place I'll be going back is Australia.
So that's breaking news for us this morning on our program, PM. That's wonderful. Where are you going to be visiting exactly? Will you have time to come and visit Ali and I in Sydney?
Maybe that bit I'll hold back on, but I'll let you know soon enough.
Really good to talk to you. Thanks for being with us, and you can't, and your people here in Queenstown and all the staff here have just been absolutely wonderful. It's been really lovely to be here. It's been good for the soul,
and you're
as they
most
say.
welcome,
PM, thanks
and perhaps
for
letting us in.
Perhaps we can do a little pan around and you can see some of the people here at the field days in New Zealand. You're welcome to come and join us and come and enjoy a little bit of New Zealand hospitality. A little wave.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, guys, can we give the New Zealand Prime Minister a wave right back?
There you go.
Say hi.
That's the New Zealand Prime Minister reporting live for the Today Show. I love that. And she'll be welcome to our shores too in July. Some breaking news as well.